In this model, we're going to work on the texture for the trunk. And in this clip, we're going to bring in that model to Substance Painter. So in order to do that, what I will do is hit Command N on my keyboard, and this will open our new project window. So the template I want to use for the materials is going to be PBR Metal Rough. And this will give us the closest options for the channels of these materials to work on RenderMan. Then I will go here to this icon here and select our geometry. So you can tell from the FBX folder where we export our objects from the previous model, we're going to find all of our objects. So in this case, we're going to pick the trunk.fbx. Then I will hit OK. And then for the normal map format, I will go with OpenGL because it's one that has worked a little bit better for me, but it's up to you. This also is more related to render engines on video games. Then for the document resolution, you can tell that it's by default as 1024. I will go to 512 and then I will hit OK. And this will create our Substance Painter project. So now we have bring in our FBX trunk here, and you can tell here on our 3D view. So before we start working, let me explain a little bit how I have arranged or rearranged our UI. So on your left, we're going to find the property tab. This is where we're going to modify all the attributes for the materials and the brushes that we work here on Substance Painter. Then we have our shelf, which is basically our library for all the procedurals, textures, smart materials, smart masks, and etc. that we are going to be working on Substance Painter. Then we have the viewer settings, which is basically what we're going to see here on our 3D viewer. Below here we have our logs, and in top of that we have our viewer, which if you type F1, you will split it between the 3D view and the UV texture view. Then if you go to F2, you will see the 3D view, and then F3, you will go back to the single and only texture set. All right, so let me go back to F2. So we have the 3D view in front of us. And then on your right, you're going to have three different tabs. So the first one is going to be the texture set settings. So here is where we can basically assign to each specific texture set all the settings that we are going to apply to that. So in this case, we're going to have the size resolution, we have the channels, and we have the additional maps that we're going to make later on. Later, we have our layers. So this works in the same way as Photoshop of any other layer software like Moodbox, for instance, that you have your layers for your materials, and on top of that you have your blending mode. So you can change here all the type of blending modes, and then you have all your channels. Then we have our texture set list, which is basically all the objects that we have. So we can check this here. So we have the borders, the box, the corner, the handles, holders, locks, and screws. All right, so that's basically how the UI will work for us. So now the next thing I want to do is go to our channels for each object. So I will go here to our texture set settings, and I will go ahead and create an additional channel. So far we have the base color, which is basically our diffuse or color channel, the height, which is going to give us a little bit of a pseudo displacement map for RenderMan if we need it. But it also is important because this will help the normal map to work. Then we have the roughness, the metallic, and the normal, which the metallic will be driven into Pixar RenderMan as the reflection channel or texture.
So I will go and create the specular channel, which at this moment is outside of your screen, but on your end, it wouldn't be an issue.
So I will do the same thing for all of these objects. So as you can tell, it is really important to keep a little bit of consistency between your channels and how you work, because we're going to bring this to the Pixar surface shader, which is by default and definition a monolithic shader. And we want to work with this PBR approach, which is going to be really effective. So let me just finish this adding of the channels. So I will go ahead and add the specular channel for all of them. So let me go here. I will hit this plus sign here and add the specular channel to all of our objects. So one more and we are ready to go. All right, so now that we have this, all of our channels have been created. But the next thing I want to do is go to our viewer settings and import a HDRI or the HDRI that we're going to use for our look development. So in order to do that, I will go here to our shelf tab, and I will go to this icon here, which is going to open our import resource window. So as we did in the previous model, I will go here and add a model or add a texture, sorry, and I will go back to our projects files, and you will see that you have the Luxo Junior HDRI. I will bring in the flip version and I will hit open. Then I will add this as an environment, and then I will import this to the current session only. I will hit import, and you can tell that now we have it here. So let me go back to our viewing settings, and then I will change this panorama for a Luxo Junior. So I will type Luxo, and then we have our map here. So this will bring this one here. So just give it a little bit of time so you can see that the light has been updated on the 3D view. And then what I want to do is increase the environment opacity. So now that we have increased our environment opacity here, I want to get rid of the blurriness so we know exactly where we are seeing on this scene. The last thing I want to do is rotate this so our key light is pointing roughly to the front of our trunk. Alright, so now that we have this, what I want to do is create our preset to export all of our channels. So in order to do that, what I will do is just hit Shift and Command and the key E on our keyboard, and this will open the export document window. So now that we have this, you can tell that all of the objects has this checkbox here, which means that those are the texture sets that we're gonna export. So in order to create this, I already went and created the beginning of the template that we're going to use. So in this case, if you want to create your own, you can hit this plus icon, and this will open an empty window like this one here. For now, just to save some time, I create already the RenderMan preset, and then I create some additional channels. However, I'm missing one, which is the color channel. And I'm missing that one because I want to show you how we can create these channels based on the channels of our texture set. So in order to do this, the first thing that you want to define is the output map type of channel. So I will pick RGB because our basic color is a RGB. And then I want to get rid of this name. And then with this $sign here, what it will do is will give us the option to bring some variables. So these variables will be related to the project, the mesh, or the texture set. In this particular case, I want to bring the texture set. And then I will put the lowercase here and then type color. All right, so that will define the name of our output color map. But still there, we need to associate our channels from the materials to this texture set output color. So in order to do that, what I will do is I will go and look for the base color here, as you can tell it here, and I will just drag this name and drag it to the RGB icon here, this square RGB icon, and I will just drag it there. So this will give me a couple of options. So the option that I'm looking for is RGB channels because that's the ones we want to apply to these textures, and I will hit add. As you can tell, the icon have changed to a RGB icon or indicator, and that should be ready to go. Now let me go back to our export tab and let's check what we have here. So at this moment, our configuration is one that is different from the one that we created. So in order to bring this one here, what we need to do is go here down and find for the RenderMan preset that we just created. As you can tell, immediately it has changed the name. So we pick our texture set, which in this case are the borders, and then attach the texture set, which is, or the channel, which is the specular, reflection, roughness, normal, height, and color. All right, the last thing I want to do here is go and change the extension of my file to TIFF and change this to 32 bits because I want to work these textures in a linear way. So we don't have to deal with gamma correction once we bring these textures to RenderMan. And finally, I will set up the output directory. So in order to do this, what I will do is I will go to our projects file here, Maya files, and I will go to the source images and pick our trunk texture folder, which at this moment is empty and will remain empty up to the end of this model when we export all of our texture for this material. So we hit open and there you go. As soon as we hit export, it will grab all the information for the materials and export the corresponding maps to the corresponding texture sets and objects.